Hi, my name is Kevin, and I was asked to just speak a little bit about some of my memories with Student Bodies, the TV show. I remember that this was a show that I just loved watching. I always looked forward on Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock to tune in and catch the latest episode of Student Bodies and see what they were up to. It it just felt like it was such a wholesome show, and the cast seemed really down to earth. And I just thought that some of the plot and themes were so ridiculous and crazy. Like the scheming of Victor and Flash. The two rival papers going at each other. It just seemed like such a crazy concept, but it was really lighthearted also, and they all really seemed to care about each other and get along. So I really just liked, I just liked the good naturedness of the show. If that's a word. It's interesting that the show actually did kind of encourage me to get into the school newspaper when I did get into high school. I found it to be very similar with the drama that went on in the show. It was very similar to the drama that went on when I was serving on the high school newspaper. Student bodies, what it also had meant to me was it was just really cool to me as a kid. I think I started watching the show in 6th grade or 7th grade, and I thought it was just really cool how around that time my family had just gotten a computer and we had just learned about what the internet was. Our family had just started having an internet connection, and I know Student Bodies used to promote that they had a website on the show, and they had a lot of interactive like contests where you'd have to tune in, and you could maybe win a prize or something from he was one of the creators. His name was Jonathan Bell. So there was a couple particular contests I remember entering. One was like the month of February. You had to tune in each week, and then there was a quiz, and you had to answer 3 questions from each episode. And I guess the people that got the most questions right won. They won like some really cool stuff, like a mouse pad and like a copy of the Student Body magazine that's used on the TV show. So I remember winning one of those and being really excited about that. There was another contest where it was like the cast's eyes. It was just a cutout of their eyes, and you had to identify each cast member. And then there was like a tiebreaker question where you had to basically write about how you did service or community service within your neighborhood. And that one I also remember having won, which was really cool. And then Jonathan Bell had also published each contestant that won their what they had done as volunteering. So it was just really cool to see my name on the internet on this website as a winner, and other people be able to see what I had done. There was like another contest I also recall where the prize was that you got flown out to Canada and you got to be a walk-on for one of the episodes, which I actually didn't win, but a friend of mine in junior high had won, and because I had told him about this contest, and he had gotten the cast to like all sign one of those Student Bodies props that was used, one of the issues on the TV show, and they all signed one, and they had written my name, like, thanks for tuning in and watching, Kevin, which I thought was just great. So, when I think of the TV show, I still, on Saturday mornings, every now and then, like on a cold winter day or something, I'll hit YouTube up, and there's a Student Bodies channel, and I'll just watch a few episodes or let the thing run, and it just feels very nice to relive some of the happy times from when I used to watch this show back as a kid. It's also really nice that it's online now, because here in America, I think the show was cut around the middle of season 2. I believe it went like 3 seasons in Canada, so it's kind of nice to be able to see what was going on, and some of the episodes are like brand new for me. So, all in all, I think, it was just a really fun, lighthearted, down to earth show for me. And I loved the interactivity that the show's producers and the cast had with the fans. I'll never forget just how cool that was. I still have all the props. I still use the mouse pad here. What is this, 20 years later after the show was on air? But I mean, yeah, I still have their little mouse pad that I use with the casts in the cartoon. So, I mean, the show really has been it really did leave an impression on me in a lot of different ways, from just being something really cool and exciting to tune in for every week, to encouraging me to get into journalism in high school. So thank you.
You don't have to stand like that the whole time, but student bodies. I first discovered student bodies. Well, I think when I was 11. It was my first summer in Canada. I came here in March, and then I finished off the 5th grade, and then I watched a whole lot of TV over the summer. Although the first I've heard of it was at school when a kid was singing the theme song, just like day in, day out. And I was like, I didn't know what it was, so I thought it was maybe like a pop tune from the radio or something like that, until I just, caught student bodies on TV, and then I heard the theme song and I immediately recognized it. Yeah, what a show it was. Let's talk about the characters, I guess. Cody, of course, I have always identified with Cody the most because, the thing that really I found engaging about the show to begin with were the cartoons. And Cody fancying himself as the artist, and I was always the artist kid. So I found that to be very relatable. But then again, a lot of the characters were written in a very relatable way. I mean, Chris, the lovable clown, I think probably is someone who I can identify with the most in terms of the quirkiness and the personality. Although they did develop the character quite a bit in the later seasons. Mags was always fun, like that little somewhat annoying sister that you can't help but love. And of course Emily, who was the initial main love interest for Cody, and she was the academic kid, and basically just the perfect girl that they tried to just this ideal romantic interest in this type of narrative. And yeah, I guess those were the original 4 main characters, and then of course you had Flash and Victor, who started off as the antagonists, and in the beginning they were such a threat to student bodies, and they seemed so intimidating in that way that 90s school bullies and comedies tended to be intimidating. Then, of course, after season 2, they ended up being forced into becoming a part of the student bodies and became a part of the group, and that whole dynamic changed quite a bit, which it was interesting how a lot of that dynamic changed in the series from season 1 to season 2. The stories got a lot more down to earth. I mean, in the first season, we had a story about the goop they develop in science class that ends up being delicious, and then it spoils and becomes really rotten. And then the other episode where Chris was being bullied, so he cross-dresses, and then the bully ends up having a crush on him. That was fun, and yeah. And then there was that whole thing with Chris always crushing on the Morgan girl, who was like the prissy, popular girl, and then after season 2, she just kind of vanished. I don't think they ever gave her a proper exit or anything like that. And yeah, after season 2, after that whole big thing with Cody and Emily breaking up, and then the stories got quite a bit more real, more down to earth. We had, the scenarios were still very outrageous. I mean, one where they get snowed in the school. One, that was a fun one where they reference South Park out of nowhere, with Victor going, "You killed Flash, you bastards!" And then Cody moves in with his dad, and then he was dating Grace for a while. That was his second love interest. She started off as a very, very minor character, but she was still around in the first season here and there. And then it was interesting how she just they kind of eased her into the main plot, at least for half a season before she moved away to Germany. But while they were dating, there was that one episode where they did that whole he versus she game show where the guys were against the girls and they were answering trivia. And then one episode where she and Cody get robbed in his dad's film store. And so the thief tells them to, strip down to their undies, and they end up having to put on the props from the photo op thing that he had going. So many memorable episodes. Of course, who can forget the Elvis impersonator episode? The song that they played over and over in that episode. Got a Lot of Living to Do is still one of my Elvis favorites. Romeo was another character who started off as a relatively minor character and then ended up joining the group and dating Emily eventually. But he first started off as this playboy, this guy who just got all the girls, and even had a bit of a rivalry with Cody in one episode where they were reenacting a scene from Cyrano, and Cody had to wear a big long nose. And actually, I think that was when he and Emily first got together. Yeah, because he was crushing on her, and then he did the whole speech about how he loves her, which is quoted from the play, but she just goes up and kisses him, even though she was supposed to kiss Romeo. Some other memorable episodes, of course, there were a couple more relatively serious episodes, like the one where Victor gets drunk and makes a total ass of himself, although that wasn't entirely realistic, because how many high school kids don't drink? And it was still, trying to play that naive card of the 1990s where, oh my God, you brought alcohol? That is so awful. But it was a well executed episode and had a good message and a very powerful performances, I think, on behalf of especially Victor and Flash. Flash, another character. She was always a favorite of mine. Of course, too cool for school kind of girl. The one thing that never really that I couldn't really buy into was the fact that she was working for Victor for so long. She's so much smarter than him and just has so much more dignity, and she doesn't seem like the kind of girl that would let somebody boss her around, especially somebody like Victor. If anything, he should have been working for her in the student voice. But yeah, always a very cool character who always kind of has her own unorthodox wisdom that she imparts on everybody. One episode that comes to mind is where they all just finished taking their SATs and they're talking about going to college, and she brings up the notion that, well, what if you don't have to go to college? What if you could do something else and experience the world? And I think that was a good message. Maybe one that they should have pushed a little harder for a lot of kids who are expected to make that decision straight out of high school. But hey, it's not real life. It's high school. Uh, so that was a good episode. I mean, there were so many memorable episodes and characters. Mrs. Morton, of course. Uh, she was always talking in that sassy tone and never taking anything from anybody. How about Cody and his relationships? So we had Emily, and then we had Grace. And then when Grace is out of the picture, Holly came into the picture. Did anybody actually like Holly? I mean, none of Cody's friends ever did. The way she kind of made her debut was cool because it was the episode where Cody was, he had his little censorship sucks cartoon printed on the t-shirt, and then it became this righteous cause for him. And then she was very strongly advocating that cause, and that was very admirable. I liked her in that. But after that, she just ended up being the blonde, not really ditzy, just kind of off-putting, model type popular girl who nobody liked, and I think everybody was looking forward to seeing Cody break up with her. Maybe. But what's interesting is that he started dating afterwards her best friend Kim. And Kim is the polar opposite, and maybe not for the best. She is just so sweet and saccharine, and she tells Cody to go on another date with Emily to make sure there was no leftover feelings. And that was the series finale. Yeah, I was just like, what the heck are you thinking, Cam? And yeah, what a way to end the series. I mean, just kind of on a whimper, not a bang. I think maybe what they were trying to lead to was to have Cody and Emily get back together, and maybe that would have happened in season 4. I guess we'll never know, but yeah, it really seems like the writers wanted to keep going with it. I don't really know the story about why it got canceled, but it sucks that it did when it did, although that does mean it didn't overstay its welcome either. But it would have been nice to see them at least go through the graduation or something. Another favorite episode of mine was when Cody and Mags end up in detention with all the detention regulars, and there are all these weird kids who are kind of intimidating in their own way. There was like the big bully kid who just like finishes drinking his pop, and then he just like bites into the can and takes a chunk out of the can. And then this other weird kid who's like, cool, a molecule. And the artsy goth girl, I liked her because once the characters start kind of developing through the episode and Cody finds out that there is something admirable each one of them, she ends up revealing that she donates blood. And he's like, you donate blood? She's like, for $20 and a juice, I'd give my skull. And I love that line. So many good episodes, so many memorable. Chris, again, another way they kind of helped his character develop beyond the class clown was that one episode where one of his teachers passed away and they wanted him to give the eulogy, and then he wasn't sure what to write, and he ended up ripping off Mags's eulogy for her dead hamster, but he ended up taking the actual eulogy that she wrote and then started reading about how cute the whiskers were. But then obviously he realizes that's not the eulogy he wanted to read. He tosses it out. He tries to improvise and fumbles at first, and then he gives this very, very sweet, touching speech at the end, and that was very, very much of a tearjerker. And the show knew how to evoke feelings. It wasn't all jokes. They had some serious topics that they dealt with in, I think, relatively tactful and well-written ways. I learned a few. I guess developed a few of my personal values from the show. I mean, the whole show was based around relationships, and I think that's where some of my inner romanticism came from. But also other things, like for example, there's an episode where about Valentine's Day where Cody adamantly, doesn't want to celebrate it. Emily gets all mad, but she shouldn't have gotten mad. Cody was right. He was talking about how he just doesn't believe in commercialization of Valentine's Day, or that he should be forced to, that he should have a holiday tell him how he should feel. And I agree with that. So that kind of thing. That was also the episode where we found out that Cody can play the piano and sing, apparently. Wow, such a talented guy. No wonder I identify with him. Yeah, it's a very... I learned a lot of my English from that show. Of course, when I came to Canada and I started watching it, I spoke very little English, and my grammar was atrocious. But so it was one of the shows that I just kind of watched and picked up some things from. Certain words in particular. There was an episode where Cody has to meet Holly's friends, and they're all like very obnoxious and pretentious in their own ways, and one of them calls Cody Jejun. But I like that term. I kind of I use it once in a while. Which means childish. A couple other things, just but yeah, a lot of most people I talk to who actually did watch the show always remember it very fondly, and I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about it. So yeah, in its own small way, for all 3 seasons that it lasted, I think it left an impact in everybody of my generation, even if it's on an unconscious level. And definitely a show worth revisiting, I think, because there are things that you pick up as an adult as well from it that are very clever. So yeah, I love me some Student Bodies, and I will always remember it fondly. Let's put it on DVD. Okay, cut. Hi. Okay. Is that good?
Hi, my name's Ian. I'm from Toronto, and it's finally happening. After 20 years, the reunion of Student Bodies, and it's coming to Fan Expo, and I can't think of a better place for it. I love coming to Fan Expo. It's one of my favorite places to come to every summer. What I'm looking forward to is being a cast and fans and friends alike, so we can reminisce about our favorite episodes from Student Bodies. I remember when Student Bodies first came on YTV. I used to watch the episodes even late at night, past midnight when I couldn't sleep, and I would watch the reoccurring episodes on the other networks. What I liked about the show, that it was different from other TV shows at its time. It wasn't Beverly Hills 90210, it wasn't Degrassi. Don't get me wrong, Degrassi was fine, but that show I found was a little too dark, a little too preachy, and I didn't relate to the kids that went to Degrassi, say like the ones who went to Edison. I was also a photographer in my school's newspaper and yearbook, so the kids from Student Bodies looked like the kids I went to school with, and I could relate with them. Plus, there wasn't just also the stereotypical token person of color. There was different peoples of nationalities on that show. Of course, along the way, I developed a crush on every girl of the cast of Student Bodies, because they were also all so damn hot. I remember, Nicole, in one particular episode, that your character Emily no longer wanted to be the good girl, that she wanted to be a bad girl today. And I remember the outfit that you wore on that particular episode. And it was so damn hot. And you instantly became my favorite. Sorry, my faithfulness did waver along the series, but again, you were one of my favorites. So, like everyone else, I have questions. Is there going to be a revival or a revisit to the show? And also, where can I find some of the old episodes? I've looked online on Amazon and eBay. I can't find anything. Hopefully there will be a DVD box set that I can watch the old episodes. So, again, I'm looking so forward to this reunion. Congratulations on 20 years. Thank you for the years of entertainment. I really enjoyed the show and your guys' work on it, and all the best to your futures. So, hashtag Student Bodies 20 at Fan Expo. Looking forward to seeing everybody. All the best. Peace out. And Ross, if I ever do another video, I'm checking in with the Weather Network first so I don't get rained on.